Hey guys, KallTorak here. Today, I am bringing you my Arctic Armor Blood Mage. This is what it looks like when it does over 1 million damage per hit. The core of this build is Arctic Armor. It is one of the starter spirit gems for Sorceress. While active, you conjure an icy barrier that gains stages over time. Each of these stages grants more damage. When hit with a melee attack, you will lose a stage of Arctic Armor, but then deal damage back to the attacker. With investment, I was able to get Arctic Armor to level 34 with 8 stages, leading it to hit for over 1.1 million damage. Since I'm running Leopold's Applause, with a boatload of cold resistance penetration, I am easily able to one-shot some of the game's tankier bosses. The other way we are scaling our damage is through Wrathpith Globe and Blood Mage. Blood Mage builds lean both towards crit and life stacking, so this pairs perfectly here. In fact, I gained over 500,000 damage putting this bad boy on. No rare focus or unique scepter comes close. A majority of our tankiness comes from being a Blood Mage. Being able to easily double our life is huge for Reflect builds. Also, Grasping Wounds is just really nice in general. It saves my life constantly with its temporary damage prevention. The biggest downside of Arctic Armor is that it only triggers off melee hits. There is no way around this, and it can make bossing a learning curve at times. Some bosses, like Zet, only have one melee attack, and it oftentimes will one-shot you. Most bosses we can navigate. A lot of them you can just stand next to and force a melee attack and instantly kill them. Mapping is made easy through Trample Toe. I know, another Trample Toe build. I want to be clear, and I'm really sad about this, but I tried really hard to make 3 dragons and Ignite Prolification work. Way too hard. And while it did work at times, it was doing about half of the damage. So, we're just using Trample Toe, and it's pretty amazing here. 30% of overkill damage transfers to enemy within 2 meters. Since we are hitting for over 1 million, yeah, 1 reflective Arctic Armor is enough to clear the screen as long as there's density. This build's pretty good in Waystone 15s and 16 because of density. When there is a pesky range group that survives, I'm using Frost Bomb to take care of it. I have 2 Frost Bombs, one of them at max level for damage and another at low level for cheap exposure, just to make sure I don't break Zenith. It feels like there should be more to explain here, but that's really it. Get as tanky as humanly possible, get hit by melee attack that doesn't one-shot you, and boom, you got the build. I know, balance is all over the place in this game right now, but I hope this goes to show you that if you're willing to take a risk on a build, despite how dumb it might sound from the start, you might just have a silly goose time along the way. Final warning, Reflect builds take damage to deal damage. There are some attacks that will one-shot you even on the tankiest of characters. There is a learning curve to Reflect builds. Expect to die as you figure this style out. If you are too timid to try out this build, you might want to check out my Thorns Ritualist or my Wind Dancer Smith Katana. I have leveling guides for both, and they scale well into endgame. Alright, let's dive into the overview. Alright, let's dive into the build. A few things. I don't know if you can level this way. This was my Bira's Thorns build that it got nerfed. The character has just been sitting there doing nothing, so I just made it a Blood Mage. So if you don't have a Witch, I don't know if you can level this way, so good luck. The other thing is, it was pretty cheap to come online. It was about 6 Divine. I think the most expensive thing was the Prism of Belief for Arctic Armor. It was like 2 to 3 Divine. Everything else I bought was pretty cheap. So if you wanted to push it further with a bigger budget, you might be able to get a lot more out of survivability and damage. I'm not sure. But let's talk about the build. Arctic Armor, it's the core of the build. Obviously, I do silly Reflect builds, and this is like the silliest one I've done in a while. And yeah, it is hitting for 1.1 million damage. And so this is where I need PoE brains to sound off in the chat. You'll see in the clips versus some of the bosses, it's hitting for over 2 million damage. And that is because of Leopold's. Your hits can penetrate elemental resistance down to a minimum of -50. The baseline in PoE 2 is 0. In PoE 1, you can go negative as far as you want. It's uncapped. But in this game, it's capped at 0%. So if you hit 0% resistance on the enemy, you won't do any more penetration, right? This lets you get down to -50. I am currently at 154% penetration. So my thought around this was, if we can get to 90% cap, I assume mobs can too. So if we're doing -50, that would put us at 140% penetration. And then if I don't know if that's accounting for random waystone modifiers, like that would buff them enemies, like you know how like you have a waystone that gives enemies more cold resistance and stuff. I have no idea what the maximum percentage I would need to be at is. 140%. I'm currently at 154. If I am way over, I might just be like barely over. I might like somehow be under. I have no idea. I tried putting this build into Path of Building, and after like 5 minutes, I gave up. Like I just need to like look up a Path of Building University build, like a build series or something, because I have no idea how to work Path of Building. But yeah, just someone in the comments that understands how the negative res works. What percentage I should aim at. Either way, I'm hitting really hard, way harder with this glove than Dojres. Dojres are the percent, I think I had mine at 100%, 110% increased spell damage. Like, this is better than that by a lot. I just don't know where to get my res penetration at. Right now it's super high, could be too high, could be just barely hot, too high, could be, you know, need more. I'm not sure. But yep, inside of Arctic Armor, we get, well, first let's talk about its level 21 Spirit Gem. Just getting as high as a gem level as possible is super important. So just make sure you're constantly leveling it up. When you get to level 90, make sure you have a level 21 one, and then you juice your level as much as possible. If you see me take off my Prism of Belief, actually I'll take off the wand. The wand should update it instantly. Let's see here. So just taking off the wand, which is like, obviously we're losing the spell power. Actually, that's a bad example. Let me show you just the Spirit Gem. The problem with taking off these is they don't update the tooltip initially. You see, it'll still say level 34. I gotta zone into a map. So we're at 1.1 million. Let's just zone into this simulacrum I had just cleared. And, jeez. So, yeah, 710,000 damage. So the 3 levels from this Arctic Armor is just 400,000 damage. It's pretty big difference. So make sure you're just prioritizing Arctic Armor level. As you can see here, if you do not have that Prism of Belief, you are doing significantly less damage. So make sure you are prioritizing level. Inside of Arctic Armor, I have Elemental Focus, Cold Mastery, Cold Penetration, Execute, and Zenith. Not sure if there's a better combination here, but this feels pretty good. Zenith is great. I mean, it does increase our damage by quite a lot, and we're almost always over mana cap. Or mana cap. We're almost always at full mana. Archmage, it does work with Arctic Armor, as you can see here. Get about 150,000 damage from it, which is considerable, considering, you know, we're hitting so hard. Frostbomb. Inside Archmage, I have Vitality and Lightning Mastery. I don't think you actually need Lightning Mastery in here. I think you actually hurt yourself with this. I'm not sure. So I have 2 Frostbombs. One of them is a high level 1, and one of them is a low level 1. In case you didn't know, you can have 2 gem skills of the same gem attached. And the low level Frostbomb, I just use it for like slapping out a boss if I want to put up cheap exposure without like crippling my mana. Because, you know, when you get too low of mana, you'll dip below the damage requirement for Zenith. And then I have the high level 1, which takes a lot of your mana, but it also does a lot of your life, as you can see here, because we're a Blood Mage. It can be risky at times, which is why I don't want to always use it for exposure on bosses. Since you're about to get hit by a boss that might potentially one-shot you, it's just too risky to, like, hurt your damage, especially when you're overcapped. But in the damage 1, I have Considered Casting, Arcane Tempo, Spell Echo, Inspiration, and Fast Forward. It's just extra damage. It's actually not bad for bossing. you can like help yourself kill pinnacle content with it. But yeah, it's pretty simple. You really just have these 2 frost bombs, and you're just running around not actually using them most of the time. I almost never use these, so yeah, it's really cool. Let's talk about the gear. So for the wand, I have increased spell damage, increased cold damage, +5 to cold spell skills. That's the most important thing. And then increased critical spell damage bonus. Increased freeze build up doesn't matter for this build. We're not freezing. Again, I'm on a budget. I have not been able to test like what's better combination, spell damage versus gain additional damage as extra cold damage as a roll, as extra lightning damage or whatever. I haven't tested all of that math to see what's better. But the most important thing is to just, a lot of increased spell damage is nice, but 2, get +5 to all cold spell skills. Anything else you can get on it is just bonus. Leopold's, depending on how low you want to get your cold penetration, if I'm over, then you don't need this, but you can get it enchanted with damage penetrates additional cold resistance on it. That 13% there at the top, that is an enchant. If I am way over, which I'll update in the comments, you don't need the enchant. Go for 2 sockets instead. Trample Toe. I have it corrupted for 36% increased overkill damage. You could have it enchanted corrupted for additional slots, for more movement speed. Go with whichever one you want here. Just get a good Trample Toe. Or any Trample Toe. Wrathpith Globe. This is like key to a lot of Blood Mage builds. If you go look up a lot of Blood Mage crit builds, they're like almost all using Wrathpith. In general, with Blood Mage, you don't really go Chaos Inoculation. Some do, but you rarely do. You're going to mainly be life stacking, and since a lot of this, since it's scaling off of your life, this works perfectly. And since we're not getting the downside of the spells costing an additional 5% of your maximum life from Arctic Armor, that doesn't actually cost mana, it's a big dub there. Get a good max life roll on it, potentially. That's what I went with. So on your amulet, you're going to want +3 to all 3 spell skills, +3 levels to all spell skills. That's how, again, part of the reason why Arctic Armor is such a high level. On it, get maximum life, % increased maximum life. Mine doesn't have that. It just gets you bigger life pool. % increased spell damage. You can get some crit rolls on it. All attributes. You want to get a little bit of spirit because you do want to have enough spirit to where you can wear Archmage. You're going to want to get spirit on either your amulet, your chest, or both, just to make sure you can wear Archmage and Arctic Armor. You need 130 spirit for that. And then the other pieces, let's talk about the rings first. Cold damage, % increased cold damage, and maximum life for sure. After that, it's really just about maxing out your resistances and your attributes. Just make sure you get to at least 200 life, or 205 intelligence, so you can wear the level 20 spirit gem. And then the rest would go in the strength for more life. And then your other pieces is just about more life, filling out your stats and your resistances. You can get critical hit chance on your helmet, but otherwise, stun threshold, max life. In the mobile links, I'll have a written, the written guide goes over this stuff in detail, so you can take a look at that. But yeah, it's pretty simple. So get the Ascendancy first. Pretty normal for Blood Mage. I did try Spell Leech for a bit. I did prefer Grasping Wounds. I did also try Bleeding for a bit. I did try Bleed to help with the boss one-shots, because obviously if you're doing a 2 million damage hit, and then 2 million of that elemental damage is contributing to bleed magnitude, that is pretty huge. So at one point I was trying Execute with Lacerate, but you were having to invest more into bleed than I was wanting to. It was just a little bit awkward on the budget that I had. Potentially, if you guys have a big budget, you might want to visit doing this build with bleed. You might be able to make it work better, but it was just not gelling well with what I had set up. And then a Spell Leech, it just didn't work as much as I was hoping it would. I ended up going with Grasping Wounds. And then, of course, Thunder with the Flesh. It is a good amount of DPS increase. So Arctic Armor has a base critical hit chance of 11%. So even though it's only going up, even though it's only going up 4% base crit, it's still a pretty sizable damage increase. So obviously the whole crit section is great for this, but yeah. And that's because, you know, since we're scaling Arctic Armor to hit as hard as possible, crits help with that. I have an entire video coming out soon, by the way. Make sure you like and subscribe for it. But it is about talking about crit in this game and the state of crit. But yep, we are playing crit, of course, just because it just gels perfectly with Blood Mage. So that's the Ascendancy point. I want to talk about the jewels. So yeah, we already talked about the Prism of Belief for Arctic Armor. Again, I'm pretty broke right now. There could be a Megalomaniac that works great here. I haven't looked into it because I am broke. But for my jewels and all of them, I'm running cold damage and crit damage bonus. Some of them I'm taking damage taken recouped as life. And then some of them I have cold damage penetration. This one's spell damage, cold damage, critical damage bonus, damage taken recouped as life. This one is going to be cold damage, crit damage bonus, damage penetrates cold resistance. And same with this one. Spell damage, cold damage, crit damage bonus. So, combination of spell damage, cold damage, crit damage bonus, cold damage penetration, you know, just anything that increases your damage. And the damage taken recouped as life, you know, just extra defensive layers. If you happen to have Grand Spectrum Rubies, the percent increased maximum life per ruby you have, that would be great here. Huge damage increase, huge survivability increase. I used to have 3 of them. I sold them a while back, and now they're like 25 divine per. So I don't have 75 divine to rebuy 3 of them, so I don't get to play with them. But those would be pretty huge here, just for defensives and for your damage. I would highly recommend them if you have them. But yeah, we are doing a build where we are hitting really, really, really freaking hard with cold damage. So it's pretty straightforward from here. We are going for as much crit damage as possible and as much cold damage as possible. And you don't really have that many options to go. So yeah, we path up through here. We get the crit nodes here. We get the cold damage penetration here. Spell damage here for reduced cast speed, but since we don't cast, this is great. Crit stuff here. Pathing up here, +1 level to all cold skills. And then a bunch of cold damage and cold penetration stuff here. Over here, we're getting the jewel slot, as well as getting the increased elemental damage if you've done a critical hit. Storm Charge is pretty huge. You see a lot of elemental builds anointing it. We don't have to anoint it because we can get it. Additional elemental penetration here. I don't have this additional point here because I don't think we need it, but we might not be as far over cap as I think I am. All natural, elemental res, more elemental damage, more crit stuff, more jewel sockets, then pathing this way, more crit stuff, more crit stuff, more crit stuff, more crit stuff, cold penetration, crit, 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 crit. There is some cold damage stuff I could squeeze in here if I wanted to, if I had 2 more points, but I don't right now. Oh, but yeah, that's the build. I mean, it is as simple as it can get in terms of scaling the damage. I mean, it's really just getting Arctic Armor's damage as high as possible, and then that does the rest. I don't know, it sounds simple to me. Maybe it's not as simple as I'm making it out to be, but yeah, it's really just make Arctic Armor hit big. Big hit, do good. That's really it. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed the build, you know, it's really fun. You know, if you're just bored in the league, patch 0.3, you know, give it a shot. But if this is your first Reflect build, I don't recommend this one. Check out some of my other ones. Either my Ritualist Thorns or one of my Wind Dancer builds are a lot better than this. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you guys like the build. Alright, that's the build. I hope you enjoyed it. Another Reflect build down. Next is going to be my Fire Thorns Smithakatava. Apologies to Darth microtransaction, we once again ran out of time. Take care, boys. See you in the next one.